start the stream. Yeah, better start. Hey, wait. Let me set the timer. I'm not ready quite yet. Let's get some people congregate. Okay, there we go. Hold on.
But yeah, seriously, I'm gonna just get things in order. It is good to be here. Good to see you guys. What is this?
Le père. Pierce the bell.
Wait. Pierce the bell. Pierce the bell. See, this is why the timer's running, because it's not quite ready yet. Hold on a second.
magnetic field on this planet seems to be messing with the settings. We should probably get to higher ground.
Should probably yeah. That's good advice there, I would say, from Krypton, Mr. Krypton here. What's happening, guys? What's happening to Caleb and Veronica Bartolini with Unchained Hearts and good old Trinity Red or Blue Pill, hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. It's good to have you guys. Yeah, it has been a couple days. It's been a second. Oh, what's up, Florida Patriot? It's been a minute, and I do want to explain that a little bit because right, I try to keep away as much as I possibly can from the gonzo journalism, because that just can honestly get very old, and a lot of people cycle on, right? It's just this thing happened to me, and then they tried to censor me, and that was just, isn't that frustrating, guys? And that gets really annoying, I think, after a while. But as we're looking at this time lapse here of me driving around Los Angeles, I think this may be the final driving around LA time lapse that I may be able to show you guys for a minute because, well, I'm leaving. I'm leaving LA. I'm leaving LA on Thursday, which I guess is technically tomorrow at this point. I once said during a show, sort of truthfully and jokingly, as I say pretty much everything on this show, if the powers that be, if the Hollywood types want me to stop what I'm doing, if they want me to shut up, that all they have to do is give me a good job, and that job will then be distracting enough to keep me from doing this, because this is pretty time consuming, and I have a bunch of other projects, but at the same time, some things, some major projects that you get in the entertainment world are so intense, right? It's like camping. They're so intense, they're so all-consuming that they turn into these 14-hour days that you just then collapse afterwards and can barely function. And you must sleep. You must quickly sleep so you can get around to the next day, because it's going to be another 14-hour day the next day. So that's often how these entertainment industry jobs go. They'll go, it's all project based, right? Because everybody's about to go bankrupt at any moment. But while you're working very intensely. Right? Florida Patriot says, "I know you got a job." There's it's hard to define as being a entertained person. When you have a job, when you don't have a job, you often do have little jobs. Right, I just got finished up with a little job tonight that's gonna, but it's only gonna pay $500 or something, and I probably won't work for that person for another year or so until they circle back around. So, right, constantly working, but the question is whether that is sustainable or not, whether it's a sustainable life. What's happening, Tiffany G? What is up? I'm just getting into. Yeah, basically, I don't want to go into the details too much, as usual, but I jokingly joked on this show that give me a job and I'll shut up. And it looks like I got a job, and the job is actually taking me overseas, and I will be touring around Europe, doing a bunch of different things over there, mostly based out in Germany, but touring around. And the point is, right, that was a joke, that I would shut up if I had a job. The point is that I'm going to be doing some cool stuff and traveling, and I will be able to bring you guys some premium images from the road, from wherever I'm at. Obviously we'll still be trying to mask locations and keep things sort of nondescript, but I still think I can manage to do some reporting out there while I am on this job, because that's sort of how I do everything, just sneak it into the corners there. And I wanted to roll it back to the LA time lapses because, maybe that's, it's a joke, but it's only half a joke. Maybe that's why this job worked out. It's been in the works for a second, this whole project, but, maybe they don't like me taking these time lapses, showing you guys the weather here in Los Angeles, because I think it is very important. what's going on in LA, from everything from the weather to the people living on the street to the entertainment industry, whether they're shutting down Amoeba Music or not, right? I think all of these things are very important, just to put up there and have for you guys to look at, because honestly, I don't know anywhere else that would do that especially in the mainstream area. And like Florida Patriot said, I think the boots on the ground thing is key, and I'm just hoping, now that I'm leaving LA, that maybe somebody out there that has randomly caught these streams will take up the banner, because it really isn't that hard to put a GoPro in your car and just take some images, right? You see what's going on, and then you talk about it. It may not be for everybody, it may not be interesting for everybody, but it's almost just sort of for the historical record, even though it's getting memory hold, just to put this stuff out there. So I will be doing the same from wherever I am, right? And that's sort of why I titled this thing. I'm not going to let this throw a wrench in my whole thing here that I've set up, getting you guys to start listening to me, and I appreciate your time and attention. That's it's worth everything these days, and so I appreciate you giving me even just 2 minutes of your attention, much less the people that make it through the whole stream. Right, but the point is that I'm going to keep going. I encourage other people to start. Even if it's low budget, even if you're just making videos on your phone and uploading those, just speak your mind. That can't be a bad thing for anybody here. But I still want to get into my regular show, right? We're not going to take up the whole show talking about I'm sick of the gonzo. But I think it's very relevant to you guys in the whole show, because I am uprooting myself. I am leaving the country, and I have spent the last couple days getting things ready, especially getting this rig ready, right? Because I run the show from a pretty advanced Mac and PC hybrid monster workstation, and I will not have that on the road. So I've been in the process of setting up my sessions and other things, so I can do this show from the road. It's probably going to look a little different, but the show must go on, as they say. So, I'm not shutting down. I'm not shutting down. Oh, let's get some dynamic zoom, which just makes it so much more interesting. So just to give you the general report, it has been right. We've had the spring. It's getting dark. It's not getting dark. Well, it's dark now. There's the flower, right? And this same flower, I didn't take a picture today, but this thing's already dead. All these petals are on the ground, and the bloom is sort of finished, right? I had some pretty awesome pictures of the nature out here in California for a minute, but all of that is sort of melting away, and generally we would be headed into a massive, just sort of painful heat burst. But that hasn't happened yet. We're still living in this sort of soupy. It's cold. It's there's a heavy mist that is hanging on everything. Damn, Tito's up at 4:30. I respect. I've been up at 4:30 too. And so, right, these are just from the last couple days. I wanted to just scroll through these for you guys really quick. It's coming and going, right? There's the real clouds, there's the not so real clouds, there's the extreme overcast. It seems to switch back and forth a lot faster than it used to around here in LA. The changes in atmospheric pressure and that whole experience, it generally would change, on the days. There would not be, if it was sunny, if you woke up and there was no clouds, there wasn't going to be any clouds that day, right? But now, just because of all the jet stream and everything that we don't really fully understand that's going on up there, things are changing by the hour. They're changing by the day, of course, but and swinging rapidly, right? It'll be extremely hot, and again, it's cold where I'm at. I wear my snowboard pants when I'm sitting outside, and people try to make fun of me. I try not to let anybody see me wearing my snowboard pants, but that's how cold it gets outside my house. And this is, undescribed area of Los Angeles. I'm wondering if I have... Because there's always stuff going on here, probably lots of stuff that we're not supposed to be talking about. And maybe it is all the fifth generation rollout. Maybe we shouldn't be calling too close of attention to these guys repairing and strengthening the grid, that they're replacing these wooden telephone poles for more metal, more robust grid strengthened poles. Just a bonus little airplane with no trail here. And all of these things sort of cycling around, all of these things that we're not supposed to talk about, right? Homeless people in strange locations at strange times. It's a street corner I've driven by my entire life, and now it's in the last year become this homeless encampment where people tend to congregate and they meet, and they're just trying to get by. They're obviously suffering. I'm not no dispersions on them, but it's also like there's nowhere better to go than this little strip mall here. Very exposed, very tough place to be. But the nature continues to swarm, right? We got a lot of spiders these days. I'm often yelling at them that quote from Bohemian Grove, weaving spiders coming on here. Because I can definitely tolerate spiders, but I do not want them in my bed, in my body. Although apparently you eat a couple spiders in your life. All of us do. In your sleep. That's weird. But I'm sure all of these things that I'm talking about, that I'm bringing attention to here in Los Angeles, that I will be able to bring attention to in Europe. It's going to be a separate picture. It's going to be definitely removed. And I'm actually kind of excited because I think a lot of Americans don't really get that far out of the country or have that much frame of reference. I've actually spent a bunch of time out of the country, and I think that's helped me in skipping at least a large portion of the brainwashing in my formative years. Allows me, I think, to be a little more discerning with things. But not to rub it in or anything, but I will definitely try to bring any sort of understanding from other cultures, basically, because we really are in a sort of bubble over here in America. We aren't encouraged to understand how that there's other ways of creating a society, that there's other stable ways, possibly more, better, stronger ways of creating a society, and that could be very easily implemented. But I'm sure I will still be playing the same fifth generation game when I'm over there, because I've been over there recently, and the fifth generation is going up everywhere in all major cities. So here's just a cool one from a sports stadium, right? Gotta get that 5G in your sports. It's definitely not as aggressive as here in LA, right? And maybe that's another thing to just shut up about. Stop talking about these. You make everybody start looking at those poles. They're supposed to not notice them. Just look at the beautiful blue sky and ignore other things in this image. And on another note, being somebody that works in the entertain area, there is a lot of hidden secret knowledge in many areas, and one of the main ones I would say is technology, because there's a whole big inside game, lots of different companies and lots of different layers of understanding that will get you good audio, will get you good video, and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not generally well known. And I have been recently talking to some other YouTubers and helping them out with their setup. And this is one thing that I never hear from any YouTubers, so I just want to put it out there into the universe. Most people, when they're looking to upgrade, they are encouraged to get a USB microphone, to get a snowball or something like that plugs directly into your system. I would heavily discourage that because, first of all, it's not super good sound, and then there's also what's called heavy latency when you're using a microphone like that, that means that the signal will be delayed pretty substantially. So you will not be able to monitor what you're saying. You won't be able to listen to the sound of your voice, whether it's being good quality or not. What you do need to get is what's called an audio interface, which is what we see here. I actually have 3 because there's a lot going on here. But this is a $100 piece of hardware, and it plugs in the back to your computer through USB. Then you can plug a legit full-on microphone, the 3-pin, or your guitar or anything else into these front panels, right? And you can set the gain a little bit on here. You can turn up the level, etc., etc. But the main point is that you can digitally get the signal from a good microphone into your system and feed that straight into OBS or whatever other software that you're using. Audio interface. This is by far the cheapest one that you can get, $100, and it goes up from there. You can spend thousands of dollars on an audio interface. If you're just doing videos, you probably won't need that. But I just wanted to put that out there real quick for anybody that's maybe thinking vaguely about creating content. Even if you just want to make it for yourself, get an audio interface. It's worth it. It's fun. But I definitely will miss this place. It's beautiful here. Honestly, California has some of the most breathtaking nature I've ever seen, and I haven't been everywhere in the world, but I've been a few places, and it continues to amaze because whatever mud flood, whatever chaos happened in the past here, California just seems to be generally less civilized. That there wasn't as much organization that happened, at least in some of the areas, and it's reflected in the nature that things don't grow in straight paths. It's a big jumble. It's just a big mess the way nature sort of wanted it to be. And I encourage you to get the audio interface. I encourage you to go out and experience nature that is not manicured. Find some nature that has not been organized or touched in any meaningful way. Because you're not exactly going to find truth at the mall lawn, if you know what I mean. You got to go out and find stuff that is, the seeds flew out and those things got planted all on their own, and it's just, it's just random. It's just random. Oh, you lived in Hollywood, Veronica? That's cool. There's super beautiful parts in Hollywood. All the really fancy types live up Laurel Canyon, and it's goddamn gorgeous. And there's just beautiful nature and everything that lives around there. We're going to get into the news. Let's look at a couple news articles, but as a closing argument, because I will not be able to make these from this location that much anymore. As I was driving home, I got stuck behind a caravan. Major caravan. And it was alternating highway patrol with Caltrans. Caltrans, telecommunications trucks that are messing with possibly 5th generation stuff. And I had personally never seen this before. I've seen a lot of trucks going around there. They're installing this infrastructure and they're doing as fast as they can, but I haven't seen something like this. The SUV highway patrol, and he had a siren. He had not a sirens, but he had his lights on the whole time flashing, and it went, police, 5G truck, police, 5G truck, and it did this maybe 5 or 6 times. It was a big caravan, and I got stuck because it's a 1-lane road, and I was following them. But and this was just a couple hours ago. This was maybe at 1 a.m. LA time, and. Right, it's that same kind of stuff that we talk about a lot on, Marfoogle and other watcher type channels. Is like, why at night? Why do they need a police escort? It's not like anybody's trying to hit these trucks. And I still honestly don't know what to make of it. I sat behind them for quite some time, and I was like, why? Why are the cops involved in this? And I'll be back. I come back and forth, so, all show you whatever is in front of my eyeballs, and I would encourage you to do the same. Show me some pictures. Show me what you got. Let's get into that in a second. So, I was just watching some Naughty Beaver last night. Naughty Beaver's definitely a hero here in the truther community. If you go a little deep dish, he can get a little strange, and but his main thing is Nostradamus and tracking all those symbols, and he just does seem to have some sort of bizarre link to Nostradamus and understanding of that sort of content. And then I was watching Static in the Attic, another great channel out there, and he was talking a lot about how there was some weird comets, some weird things that came by the planet around the 1200s or so, and that they let loose some sort of weird miasma, some bizarre fog that was extremely sulfurous, and anybody that was caught in that was able to smell this putrid smell was basically they just dropped dead, and this was tens of thousands of Europeans that were basically obliterated by this weird smell. Which again makes me think of that other Netflix show. It really is honestly all connected. You can always see a reflection in some form of entertainment. And honestly, all these news articles, that's all they are. They're reflections. You're not actually looking at reality. You're looking at it through three corners, through this person's brain, through the editor. Probably the executive editor had to sign off on this, right? You're looking at reflections off of other people's brains, so you always sort of have to take that into account. But the point of that whole tirade, they all seem to be talking about comets and bad things occurring around them. That was that famine of I guess the 1200s, 1300s, and basically many bad things have been followed by these comets. And I've just been seeing a whole lot of asteroid, comet sort of news in general. And this one is gigantic, right? 3 times the length of a football field, and it's coming pretty close by. I guess 4.2 million miles is not that close, but this is right. I like to track the trends, and any sort of article or anything I bring up it's going to be a trend, right? I've seen dozens of articles discussing flybys of asteroids and other sort of planetary objects, and I remember seeing that every once in a while back in the day, but not at this frequency. Just an extreme amount of, hey guys, check out that comet's about to come by. Better watch your back. You better watch your back. I brought this up because I am heading into the belly of this beast, right? Somewhere in this area that is apparently just going to get pummeled this week with unbelievable heat. Right? Actual temperatures, we're talking in the hundreds. That's just not what you normally get over there. And the thing about Europe, the entire continent, is that almost nowhere has air conditioning. It's not part of their culture or something that they thought was necessary, right? They're used to the colder weather, and that's what's going to kill you if it's too cold. But historically, they have not really needed any air conditioning, right? Sure, it would be hot in a couple of days, and you would just open the window and suffer a little bit. Sometimes you'd have to keep the window closed, and then it would be pretty insufferable. But nothing like this, right? This is, again, all these just unprecedented, and these are some crazy numbers, right? I was not there in this period, but apparently there was quite a few fatalities from that heat wave, and this is supposed to just be way worse, basically. Hell is coming, says, Spanish person, right? I guess a whole bunch of deaths from that, and so it really is looking like it's going to be really, really hot over there for this entire week, and I'm sure we'll hear about a bunch of deaths after that, and that, what are we going to do about this? Can we save ourselves from this suffering? I guess not. A lot of people can't, honestly. I mean, imagine it being, wherever you are. You're driving in your car, it's 105 degrees. You got a child, maybe an elderly relative or something, and there is no air conditioning. There's nothing you can do. You give them a wet cloth, maybe I don't know, put it in the freezer for a couple minutes and keep it on your forehead. Honestly, I don't know what people are going to do over there, but I will be reporting from the ground.
Reporting from the ground.
That's another thing. I guess the mobile may not have all my cool voices set up, which is, some people think they're annoying anyways, so you will not have the cool voices possibly for 1 second. I did want to bring up this other article, though, because it is interrelated, right? Climate apartheid. UN expert says human rights may not survive. And the whole sort of premise idea here is that they are, well, that was sort of a misframing of Europe's air conditioning setup. If you do have some cash, that you can definitely go buy an air conditioner. That's not impossible. You can get obviously your car is going to have air conditioning, but you can get your building retrofitted. You can afford to cool yourself down and not die if you have a little bit more cash. But it's going to be a lot more expensive than setting up air conditioning, for example, here in America or anything like that. So, right, I see these two articles extremely related. It's going to get crazy town hot. People are going to start dying. And, right, stuff that they say like this is probably like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Expect this to happen. So when things get really hot in a place, and Europe is pretty civilized, but if we start getting these temperatures in other places that aren't really quite set up for it, and people start to fight over water, et cetera, they're saying that human rights may break down, that there may not be an easy way to shore those up, that things will just be sort of swimming from that point on. I would say expect that to keep coming, right? The divide grows. If you haven't heard about the Halo, and I'm not talking about the video game, I'm talking about the Halo. It's a whole new way of learning. And this is the Halo 2. This already came out a couple years ago. But the basic idea is that you put on these weird looking headphones, right? They have, I guess, some like spikes in the top. Where's the picture of the spikes? But the point is, you wear these weird headphones. Apparently, they activate your brain in a super awesome way. And what it does is help you learn physical activities faster and stronger and better, right? Accelerate recovery. And the whole idea is that you wear this thing for 20 minutes before you do, if you're training, maybe you're learning an instrument, maybe you're trying to learn how to juggle or something, anything sort of difficult that you do with your body. They're saying this is going to be way faster. This is how the breakaway civilization works, right? If you could put on the Halo, and even if you don't have that much innate ability, still fully outstrip anybody else that is not using said Halo in whatever field that you want to talk about, right? And they're saying it got studied, that this is legit. The Army's using it, the Giants are using it. And it's good for you, right? But you think about the loss, what's the trade-off, right? There's always going to be a trade-off. Is it, what type of learning is it going to be? Is it really going to settle in? Is it only going to help you out, short term, and then you'll see months later sort of these effects losing? Is your brain going to get more used to using this device and you won't be able to learn things without it, et cetera. But I would probably guess that a lot of people that have money are using this thing, that this is sort of the consumer cheapo model, that there's highly advanced, much more advanced ones out there, right? Yeah, they got the little spikies here. There has to be, from certain organizations, the 3.0, 4.0, 5.0 version of this that they already have. And then it makes sense that, right? There's just no way to catch up then if you are not using one of these things and expect this to just continue, right? Have them in school. They're saying you're not supposed to use them until you're 18, but right, that's a good way to get kids to do anything if you say you're not supposed to do it until you're 18. Right, following trends, following ideas. I have been seeing a lot about, right, here, weird fungal infection here, bizarre super strain of bacteria here. And right, whenever there is that sort of layering, when there's like a collection of ideas over and over again, that's where there seems to be some truth. That they're trying to misinform, basically. Like there is some true element there, or something that's coming down the pike, but they don't want you to really know exactly what's going to happen. They want you to be prepared. So these aren't all new concepts, because things like fungal infections and cicadas, those are complex subjects, concepts that, if they have to explain all those things to us while we're having riots, that's not going to go very well, right? You're going to have to tell the masses without power that, yeah, it's a fungal infection in the cicadas. Please stay away from the cicadas. And you're going to have all that other information in the background. What is this fungal infection? What is that? This makes me think of Last of Us, that video game that was also a fungal infection. The fungus causes cicadas to lose their limbs and eccentric behavior, such as males try to mate with everything they encounter, although the fungus has consumed their genitals and butts.
Genital and butt consumed. They got this, their butts go, their genitals go, but they still want to shit with everything.
This is a bizarre story, right? Hope it doesn't jump to humans. All right, there's more news. There's always more news. There is always more news. And a bunch of stuff that I don't want to get into personally, but I do want to do the entertainment thing, because that's my thing. And you know you guys like to be entertained, right? That's when you get to relax and just lean back, had a long day. And then you are shown images of our true reality, where we are living in a city under a dome. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm just kidding, right? I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
We don't live under a dome. Under the Dome is not a true story, and this image in this TV show Krypton has nothing to do with our reality. It's just random. It's just totally random. CJ, you are awesome. CJ Blaze is awesome. If you guys don't know CJ, definitely check her channel out, and she's just a really, really good person and awesome chat person. So I'll see you around, CJ. We'll hang out some other time. Right? But we're going to get into Krypton just really quick. Krypton is something on something channel, all about superheroes. I would say that describes like 90% of content these days. But this is we're starting the second season, and this is the first frame that you see. You see a city under a dome. And I wanted to pull that out, because we see this often. You see snow globes, you see, right, that show. If you watch that show, Under the Dome, very interesting show, Under the Dome, written by that extremely occult, strange, hard to explain author, Stephen King, who seemed to just know a lot about things that they're trying to tell us out of the side of their mouths. Right, but what is the point of having Krypton set in a bubble? Why is that in that show? Well, at the same time, having the globe, the Earth, the planet here. And I'm not gonna get too in depth, but it's just so obvious in some of these shows, especially the superhero stuff, right? And that really is the stuff that a lot of people are watching, that a lot of people are paying attention to, and you'll see these same symbols over and over again, right? Oh, this important lady happens to only have one eye. She's got a cyborg eye. She's got a regular eye and a cyborg eye. Thanks for saying that, CJ. Yeah, if you like the video, like the video. You know, I used to think interacting with YouTube was stupid. Like, just don't be stupid. But it's honestly very satisfying for both sides that you said something to me. It made you seem like a real person, and you know, it definitely helped me out a little bit too. But hey, thanks, Jerry. Gaio right? As soon as you type something into the chat, you become a real person. You become like, because I'm just assuming anybody that doesn't say anything or write anything, that those are like bots, that they're not real people, or maybe right, those are people at some three-letter agency just like sort of spying on me or whatever. So you know, try it sometime. It's nice to interact. What's up, Anlin Show? Anlin Show's awesome too. Go check out the Anlin Show. It's one just big happy family of regular people looking at images. And if you've been watching my show, what's up? Get Jillian? Is it Gillian or Jillian? Jillian Shiahan. It's good to hear from you. If you watch my show, you know that the hexagons are key. Hexagons put the hex on you, they put the spell on you, and you will see hexagons at core critical moments, especially when it comes to images of technology and images of getting captured, right? You'll often see cages or other things made out of hexagons. Hexagons are the most easy to form thing. It's the whole, you know, hive mind, worker bee. There's a lot of things that come into the symbol of the hexagon. But, you know, one of my favorite games here is to recognize these random hexagons that they didn't mean to put in there. And so here's just your basic example of a hexagon right there. Their heads-up display digital info thing is just happens to be made out of hexagons, right? Because that was the most efficient shape. It just it was so efficient. Super efficient shapes. And this is also just random, right? Just kind of random hexagon. Super random hexagon. And I should have pulled a clip from that, but I was watching this guy's like ultra in-depth, like imaginary numbers. So he was like a mathematician. And apparently in the fourth dimension, there is no way to make a six-sided figure. It skips. It goes from a five-sided and then up from there, right? And for a hexagon, there's no way to like equilaterally math thing. I'm not explaining this well. I'll find that video. Right, but interesting. There's another. It's a cage. It's a cage-like object, and I'm just gonna pull you over to the internet real quick because this was just tripping me out. This is from today. Come on. Hubble finds tiny electric soccer balls in space. And we all know that the soccer ball is made up of hexagons and what's the five-sided guy? Five-degons? What are they called again? I really can't think of it right now. Five-sided figures. Because that's the only way to make, right? You can't make a sphere out of just hexagons. You need hexagons and the five-sided. Pentagons. What am I thinking? Pentagons. Obviously. And that they found these out in space, these buckyballs, right? And that somehow these are in the interstellar medium, that these things are floating way out there in space and made out of carbon. Right, the more you learn about hexagons and science in general, that you'll see how important that symbol is in, and how it really is like a building block of nature. It's built into our blood cells, into a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, all of that gets called up as well when you see these images. But this is just from yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And I guess, yeah, right, just buckyballs. And that's they're saying that maybe that's where life comes from. It's just sort of floating around in these buckyballs. I believe it. It's possible. Unless space is fake. But this is a very interesting show. It's incredibly soapy like, and then it's just layered on with all these, you know, all the same stuff. Consciousness transfer, domination of planets through different beings outside of the planet, extra dimensional travel, astral plane, all that kind of fun stuff that we love to learn about, and then a bunch of sort of soapy, boring other stuff, right? If it didn't have all the cool sci-fi stuff, I probably wouldn't watch it, and I'm guessing a lot of people wouldn't either. And so that's an interesting fact as well, to have this. The show itself, right? The characters are bland. The development is kind of lame. I already watched a whole season of the show, and I don't expect anything new from them. It's the character development is poor, to say the least, right? And if you really want to have a good show, it has to stand on its own outside of the plot, right? It has to have really good things in it, like good actors and good dialogue and that kind of stuff. And this show definitely does not have that. But what will keep people tuning in, and the fact that it's Superman based, and that there's all these interesting concepts, and it's beautiful graphics to help explain to you what interdimensional travel is like. Piercing the veil. Right, but the more you look into the symbolism, the more it just really stands out to you, right? If you know anything about adrenochrome, probably another keyword there, pink, how important that color is. Again, for all these same symbols, for control, for domination, right? Because it is really something that I would think that the powers that be take with a lot of pride, that they, just like that weird headphone thing, that they get to take these drugs that, they may come from children. That's necessary evil. But these drugs they put them so far ahead on so many levels. And I think they enjoy that, right? So here's another character in this show that is all of those things: the dominator, the oppressor, the higher breakaway, basically not even human, right? This is sort of an advanced AI. Maybe that's the story. I get them mixed up, but it just so happens that he's got pink all over his suit, and just briefly mentioning that, right? And we'll see. The clues are everywhere, right? We'll see. This is again from 3%, another show. But they're telling you how they do this, right? Tell her a truth among the lies. Find a true feeling to hide what needs to be hidden. And I just think that phrase is key for if you want to understand how it's working out there. Find a true feeling to hide what needs to be hidden, right? Outrage at, for example, my children being locked in cages. That is a true feeling that you can then, right? And that's honestly, that's COINTELPRO. That goes back to a lot of this stuff, but it's interesting to see it, directly stated to you in television. If you know anything about COINTELPRO and how they seeded misinformation at that time and are doing right now, that that this is the tried and true classic technique, but to see it stated directly in television, right, just gives you pause and makes you realize that there is a lot of knowledge here to be soaked up if you're able to see it in the right way. And this is an intelligence test from during the show. A lot of the show is about who is smart enough to join this breakaway civilization. And you're giving these straws, you have to make cells, and it just so happens that the hexagon is the best shape for this, the best possible, most efficient way to create these prison cells, right? And interesting that the exercise could have been rooms, it could have been segments, it could have been anything else, but they chose to describe them as 6 prison cells. Hexagon to the rescue again. What can it do? It can do anything. And I really would like to do a whole episode on even just the first episode of this show. This is Legion. Legion. We are Legion. And then, any sort of internet anonymous types will know, have heard about Legion. This is a show on FX about, yet again, superheroes and spaceships and all of that same stuff. It's just the same stuff in every show. It's just It's a different producer, different actors, different production team, but the content is basically the same, right? This whole thing is about consciousness, layered consciousness in a single entity, and all that other stuff. Secret societies, magic powers, telepathy, and again, as we've seen in many other shows. But for the first time in this show, they are introducing time travel, and time travel seems to be a major through line that will be going throughout the season. And here's just from a quick scene where they are. This is the time traveler lady, right? She's got some cool clothes on. Oh, just happened to be wearing the pink, more pink on the boots and the long socks with the pink, right? And it's very artistic and sort of convoluted, and that's sort of why I love it. It has great production design. I would heavily encourage you to go check out the show. Heavily. But basically, she's trying to get through to the other side, and when she gets into this sort of etheric mind world, she's pointed towards this hexagon, and right, you see this crowd of people saying, "Go down the hexagon. That's the only way you're going to get there. You got to follow the hexagon to get to the end." And it's this whole awesome sequence where she's climbing through cities and all sorts of other weird stuff and going through the fourth dimension, and comes out on the other side, right? And I hope, right, if you're still with me, that you'll see how powerful, how important it is that it is a hexagon. The longer I play this game, the more blatant it becomes how important these shapes are, and how embedded they are to so many levels of production, whether it be just a tiny little set piece, a little drawing on the wall, or an entire sequence where the main character enters a hexagon on the urgings of peer pressure or whatever else, and exits on the other side to find what she was looking for, right? And then there's a whole, like, she does the story over and over again because she's trying to figure it out, right? And that's, again, with these symbols, you see the clocks on the wall a lot in this episode, and all that's as important as you can believe it is. But I would definitely recommend go and watch this show, because there's knowledge in there. There's straight up knowledge that is wrapped around a shiny production entertainment package, but it is knowledge nonetheless. And if you're able to understand what that even means, then the knowledge will flow upon you. This, I think, we're going to wrap it up pretty soon, but this, I think, is pretty interesting. When she does time travel, she has to go down this long pathway, and she chooses whether she's going to go back 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. And the further she heads down the tunnel, the more dangerous it gets. It gets darker. There's, you can barely see it, but there's this little, there's some eyes. You see some sort of monster down there. And this parallels extremely with, I guess is it DC? But the whole Flash universe, with Legends of Tomorrow, right? So there's a whole sequence in the Flash, where they do some time traveling, and then they get chased by these time demons, time goblins, forgot what they're called, some sort of time monsters, right? And these entities that I guess live in the time stream, they do not approve of time travel, and they do not approve of the abuse of time travel, right? So you can do it a little bit, you can just adjust a little bit of things, but if you try to go too far back, if you try to change too much, you're going to get this demon coming after you, right? And this, we're talking about Legion, but this is the exact same plot points and story elements from The Flash, and, by association, that whole entity, the Legends of Tomorrow, the Arrowverse, I guess they call it. But just interesting, when I see these symbols twice, 3 times, 4 times, I just got to bring them up. I gotta tell you guys, hey, it was in The Flash. And I think the more you get into this mindset, it just becomes kind of like, wow, it's everywhere. It's literally all of it. This flying dirigible spaceship thing that I know for a fact they used to have in the 1850s, it is painted black and white. Very symbolic. Very powerful. And honestly, right, that's another one of my things. I think they're much more powerful when you're not noticing, when you're not consciously seeing that this is a possible Masonic, extremes of belief sort of symbol wrapped around a spaceship that's not supposed to exist. That, if you do your research, you know for a fact that they had airships back in the 1850s. So, what's it called? The Nimsy came out of World War Germany. They had airships flying all over America in the 1850s. You can look that up. The symbols, man, they're just over and over and over and over and over again. Cherry Guywinik asks, what is the biggest message they are spreading? That's honestly a hard one to answer because they're all sort of layered together. These ideas of heading towards the future and having a better society. I would say the one that I saw the most in recent times is the pandemic image that goes everywhere from the Hot Zone shows directly about Ebola to The Walking Dead shows about other pandemics and societal collapse. But I would say the pandemic itself, that there's going to be some sort of major disease that is going to wipe everybody out. I would say that is by far the most off-scene symbol. Very aggressive with that symbol. Because I think when the lights go off and we're all running around like crazy, they have to program us now because they won't be able to do that. And you will need to understand everything about there. Now I'm gonna end the stream with some risky clips here because you know the copyright game. They're probably gonna catch me.
The veil. How hard could it be? How hard could it be? How hard is it, babe?
Okay, that's all I'm going to show there. But that is from Krypton, and we talk a lot, I think, in the conspiracy community about piercing the veil. That has a bunch of other sort of flat Earth and other sort of implications. Again, super sweet bit graphics, lame characters. He's basically tricking him into opening up some weird thing, but there again is that phrase, right? And what does that mean to you? What does that mean to them? What does that mean to somebody that hasn't looked into this stuff at all? I think it's all very powerful. But it's interesting to see those phrases talked about. And then, used in a area of duplicity where he's not actually piercing the veil. He's piercing the thing he's not supposed to pierce, and that he just helped the bad guys with whatever he was doing there, which... take your own parallels from reality any way you want. And again, right here with the snow globe symbol, right? It's a big part in Krypton. The major bad guy, what he does is capture entire cities, entire planets, and puts them into his collection. And they end up on the vine like this, right? But these same concepts, and I still haven't gotten quite to the core of it, but that, right, a captured planet, something in a dome, something that has been preserved, but is not in its natural habitat anymore. It once was, but is now preserved. Oh, and that's a longer clip. I think I'm going to get into that next time. We are almost at an hour, guys, and it's just been great talking with you all. And I like doing this stream, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep it going. And I'm gonna do whatever I can to get this music playing as well. It's a strange world out there, I will be the first to say I have basically none of the answers. All I know is the impressions that I can pull together. What's up, Cranky Beats? I appreciate that. I'm gonna keep this going. I'm gonna make some time lapses. It's not gonna be this particular shot, But I'm gonna keep making them. I'm gonna keep looking. And it's so cool to hear from you is almost like extra. I gotta get back to work. I gotta get back to packing. I gotta get back to getting ready to leave. So this is almost an indulgence for me to spend this time with you guys. And so, down the road, don't expect things to be extremely polished the way maybe they haven't been in previous shows. No, they're always super disorganized. I actually did. I've made a documentary, a longer form edited video that I'm actually pretty happy with, and we'll be putting out very soon. But it is it has an exclusivity clause with Snafu Snaps at the moment. He's got something in the works, so and I appreciate that, guys. Thanks for the well wishes. It's so bizarre to have connections to humans that aren't directly in front of me. But it's been good. I hope you guys have a good night, and just keep looking. Keep looking, because you're never gonna find the truth. You're gonna find a reflection of it maybe in like 2 mirrors. I was watching a movie in the reflection of my glasses. It's like, this is sort of what reality is like.
We'll see you later, guys. It's time to make that rising down. Let's go and make a telecard happen. The truth show is over. The fake truth show is over. #truth, yo. Some people don't like when I do the auto-tune voice, but I think it's super funny. It's even better when the vocals.
Alright, yeah, appreciate it, guys. We'll get you on the next one. Where's my mouse? I gotta hit that stop stream button. #truth, yo.